What up, guys? I'm all by myself today. Maybe we'll get a few other people to jump on. Hopefully the audio is coming in nice and clear. But yeah, I'm excited to chat with you guys about editing. So those that are on and want to ask their questions about editing, we can go from there. We got to listen to the intro though. Leads on the line, getting YouTube leads. All of it is through creative editing and lots of other stuff we're going to be talking about today. So I'm trying to run this whole thing by myself, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so let me know if you guys can hear me okay, because I forgot to check my mic to make sure it's coming through my mic right here. But I want to talk a little bit about editing and why editing is so important, especially in real estate videos. And a lot of people think, well, I can just edit something really quick, put it together, and then, upload it. And then they're always disappointed when it's like, wow, I didn't get very many views or my engagement was really bad. And I want to hear from you guys if when you're putting up your videos, if you feel like, wow, I made a really good video, but I didn't get very much engagement, and how you can get to where your videos get more engagement, how people can actually you can keep them on longer with retention. And so I'd love to chat about those kind of things and any other questions that you guys have. So I'm going to go ahead and add the ask your questions in the chat, and we're going to get going on this. We may have some other people in the Real Estate Video Geeks course. Some of our students may be hopping on, and if they do, we'll chat with them as well. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, first of all, it doesn't really matter if you're editing it or if you're hiring an editor. And if I have a couple things that I really think about this. One is, if you're editing it yourself, obviously that's a really, really great way of going, but it does take a lot of time. So you have to figure out, like, okay, what's the time versus hiring an editor, and then is the editor going to leave you high and dry, or any of those types of things. So one of the things that I highly recommend is at least knowing how to edit, but not necessarily, it doesn't mean that you have to edit every single one of your videos. But there's a lot of people out there that are like, I don't want to edit anything. I'm just going to give it to my video editor. My video editor is going to edit it. And then when you get it back, you don't think anything of it, and you upload it. And I want to talk a little bit about why it's really important that you understand the anatomy of a video, and that you understand how a video should be structured, so that you can give information and details to your editor if you're not going to be the one editing it. And if you don't know how to edit, it's probably a good idea to learn a little bit on how to edit, so you know the lingo. So when you're actually talking to your editor and he says, yeah, I want to do, like a speed ramp, and you're like, what is a speed ramp? I don't know what that is. Or, I want to do a jump cut, and a jump cut may not be a good thing for your video. So like, there's lots of like little terminology things that is good to understand and know when explaining to your editor, like, oh, this is how I want to do it, and I want it in, this many frames, and then I want you to do a transition, or I want to do a jump cut, or I want B-roll or A-roll. So like, there's lots of different terminology. But really what it comes down to is, one, is it worth your time to hire an editor and then work with them, and then for them to get too busy that they're not getting your stuff out? Or two, doing it yourself, and then does it take you away from doing what's most important, which is selling real estate? So I'd love to hear some comments of what you guys think, and what suggestions that you guys have, and what you've run into. And let's make this more of a dialogue of how I can help you, while hopefully opening up your mind a little bit to saying, oh, there's not just one right way to edit a video. There's not one right way, the perfect software that does everything. So yeah, ask your questions. I am going to talk a little bit about some AI software that you can use also to help you. and we'll be talking about that as well. But I really want people to understand that it really does matter how you edit a video. If you don't have a strong hook in the beginning of your video, then your retention is going to go down. Hey, what's up, guys? Let's see what we got going on here. Stuart says, "Hey, Joe, please help me find a good editor. What questions should I be asking?" That's a really good question. So when asking the editor, first ask to see the footage and some of the stuff that they've already done. So ask them, and a lot of people will have like a demo reel. They'll have stuff or a show reel where they've actually edited things and they put their best work together. But what I would do is I would ask them, you know what, before I hire you, I'm going to have you do one video and I'll pay you for the video, but I want you to make this video a certain way. And I would give them an example of a video that the editing style so that they can copy that. But the questions you really should be asking is, one, like, do you have the bandwidth to actually create and edit these videos for me? Because I'm going to be releasing a video once a week. And if you don't have the bandwidth that you can do a turnaround time in the time frame that I need, then that's the first thing to find out is, one, do they have the bandwidth to actually help you? Because so many videographers, it's like feast or famine for them, and they're like, oh yeah, I totally can do it. And then they overcommit and they overbook, and then you get put on the back burner because you've already paid. And so they're out trying to get as much money. And I don't think it's malicious in any way. It's just the creator mindset. They're not as organized. And so then they're going to go, oh, you know what? So I would look at it and say, do you want this to be something that's like a long-term gig? Ask them questions that get them thinking like, oh, am I only going to do one video? Because think about this, like a lot of YouTubers start a channel, start making content and quit after a month. So if you're a video editor and you have a new person saying, yeah, I want to start YouTube, they're going to be like, okay. So they may be around a month or two and then they're gone. So they're looking at their future of like, what's the stability? Am I going to get consistent work? So that's like number one. That's probably the first thing I would ask them is like, can you handle it? And I'm going to be committed, and I need you to be committed that you release the video content on time so that I can have everything ready to go and I can hit my deadline of releasing it. You say it's Thursday at 3 or whatever it is, whatever date, that every week I can release on time every time. That'd be the first comment. And then the next thing I would ask them is obviously to show you the types of work that they've done. Ask them if they've edited the whole thing themselves. Sometimes they have a team and they'll pass it around to different editors. So you may not get the same person. So you want to make sure that if you're doing it, that's one place you definitely want to ask them. But there is a place that I would highly recommend if you're looking at getting an editor is onlinejobs.ph. And they're in the Philippines, but they are some of the most incredible virtual assistants that you can get. And if you give them clear direction, for the most part, you're going to get really, really a great bang for your buck. So, and there's thousands of editors that are there. So I would definitely recommend you look at that website. And it does cost to sign up, but you can cancel it after a month. So basically you get access, you can find your right person, edit them. I would actually have 2 people and let them know that they're competing for the job, because then you actually can time them on like their timing. You can get them on like their return, that kind of stuff. So, and then the other thing is like, how are they providing you so that you can make your edits and your tweaks? There's frame.io, which I would ask them that they have that so that when you go in and actually review the edits, that you can do it through that, because it's so easy to add clips and comments and things all through the timeline so that you're not having to get a Google Drive and then you have to like make comments and cut it back up and put it up. So frame.io is like worth its money 100 times over. And most editors have it because it comes with like the Adobe suite. So Stuart, that for sure, that question. The other question I definitely would be asking them is what's your scalability? What if I bring on and you want to start another channel? Are you able to do more than what you're doing? So having straightforward conversations with them, it doesn't matter if they're local or VA, making sure that you set the proper expectations. Part of setting proper expectations is the fact if you talk to them in their lingo, then they're like, oh, this person knows a little bit about editing, so I'm going to be able to have a conversation a lot easier than someone that I'm trying to explain something. So definitely would do that. Joe says, I've had an issue finding an editor and then them going MIA projects. I ended up going back to edit the videos myself. Yes, you do have, it takes time, right? And sometimes that's the best way, just to like do that guerrilla marketing and do it yourself. But eventually you can find someone. It just takes finding the right person. And usually you go through a handful before you find someone that's really good. But I definitely hear your pain. We got the YouTube realtor, not a fan of Frame. Cool. That everybody has things that they like. Like I said in the beginning, you may want to do something different. You may have a whole different system. It doesn't really matter as long as you're able to communicate to the editor what you want them to do, and you're getting a product that is you're satisfied with. And if you're not getting that, then definitely having communication and talks is huge on that, for sure. But yeah, like I said in the beginning, really doesn't matter. Some people like it, some people don't. Totally fine. There's lots of different things out there. I don't know what version you've used, but the version that's out right now is actually pretty good. So maybe they've updated it, but it's been great from my experience. But again, that's not the most important thing. Obviously, I'm looking at it in how much time. If it takes me forever to explain how to edit something, I'm just going to edit it myself because I know how to edit. So it's got to take that pain point of me not spending a ton of time. And I may have to spend a little bit of time, especially with a new editor in the beginning, to really get them to understand my vision and the way that I like to do things. And then from there, because sometimes these editors are like, they try to tell you how it should be done. And that's wrong. You're the real estate professional. You should understand how to structure a video that gets engagement, and then tell the editor how you want it done. Because that's a very, very big thing that most people will film something and they're rambling or whatever, and then they give it to the editor and say, make this look great. That's not going to be great. So Alicia says, hey, Joe, I edit my own stuff for a year. Now looking to pass off to someone. Not much time, not a task I enjoy. So that's a really good question. It depends, like what the ballpark is. It depends on where you hire your editor. If you're in the VA space and you hire someone off of onlinejobs.ph, you're probably going to be I would say $7 to $10 an hour, and you're probably going to spend $400 to $500, maybe $600 a month. Now that's if you really refine your search and really find someone that you can get. You could probably do something for that inexpensive. Again, the Philippines does have their own set of problems, like hurricanes and power outages and stuff like that. So you are going to have to deal with that a little bit. But in my experience, that's about the price point that you should be looking. If you're in the US and it's someone that's dedicated, I would negotiate and let them know, hey, I'm going to be giving you content But if you could get something for around $1,000 a month, I think that that's very reasonable to do 4 videos. So if you're doing 1 video a week, I think, and again, sometimes these editors want to bill you per finished minute and say, well, I'm going to do it. Don't ever do that. Just do per video or have a flat fee. I would really push for like more of like the flat fee. So yep, the YouTube Realtor says maybe they've got a new version. They've updated it. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, every version's a little bit different. Things get better sometimes, and then other times it's bad. Stuart says sounds like a contractor. Yeah, exactly. Like it's the same. It's the same kind of thing. Let's look at this. Alicia says, I chatted with a video editor who told me that he could also do thumbnails. Is that okay? Or should I be looking for 2 separate people, one for video, another for thumbnails? I would say look at their thumbnails, and then the most important thing is like find out how good they are at editing thumbnails, and then on top of that, how good they are at taking direction, because it would be more about them taking direction from you, because like, as you know, like we're pretty firm believers here at the Geeks that if your thumbnail is the first thing that you do, and then your video after you've created your thumbnail, then your video is the next thing that you work on. And a lot of people do film the video, edit it, upload it, and then they're like, crap, I need to do a thumbnail, and then they grab something and put it on there. We're completely the other way around, where the thumbnail is the first thing and then the content is second. So as long as the video editor, a lot of video editors are good at graphic design, because they're just some of it is just, it goes hand in hand in a lot of ways. But the most important thing is that they actually listen to you, and when you give them your idea or how you want it done, that they follow directions so clearly. And if they'll follow the directions, then it doesn't matter. As long as they're doing what you want, doesn't matter if they're doing the thumbnails and the video. They could do all of that. Not a big deal at all. But I would say one of the most important things when looking at editing, a lot of people think, well, it's got to be like if they're editors, this is a big thing to think about. If they're editors and you're doing YouTube and they do TikTok videos or they do Reels, that's a totally different editing style than long form content. That's probably the biggest difference. Some people think, well, an editor is an editor. Well, it is, but not really, because YouTube is more about telling a story, talking, or maybe it's home tours, whatever it is, but it's going to be a long form content, and the editing style is going to be a lot different. It's even going to be more prominent now, because more and more of the demographic is moving towards watching YouTube on TV. And so they're not going to want the zoom ins real fast and the zoom outs and the pans and the, all of the different like transitions that they do. So let's see, you're getting some weird feedback. All right, let's check this out. Maybe let me see if I can adjust something here. Sorry, hold on one second. Make sure my audio, let's see. How about that? Is that better? I just clicked something. Hopefully that works better. Am I getting weird feedback still? Could be that people in the office are watching YouTube videos. Who knows? So, so yeah, like I said, is if you're editing with and are using an editor that is really, really good at shorts or Reels or TikTok that's like 90 seconds or less, chances are they're not going to be a good fit for your long form. And the biggest reason is because when you do your long form, there's a lot more to it. You have, instead of 30 seconds or 60 seconds, some of these videos could be 20, 30 minutes long, and there's a lot more that goes into it. Says still weird. All right. Anybody else have like weird feedback with me? Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on here. but um, I've got all these settings set up. Let's double check it one more time. Yeah, I doesn't look like it's got reduce. Let's see. How about that? Is that better or worse? Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. I don't know, Stuart. Maybe I'm on there twice or something. Sorry about that. Okay. So going to what I was saying, making sure that the type of editor you have is good for the type of content for the platform. The other thing is if you're using one of the things that we talk a lot about is doing live streams. So if you're going to be doing live streams, you can actually go to a website and it actually can make like reels or it can make like TikTok. So it can actually go through and using AI cut down your long form content to shorts and we don't really recommend doing shorts, but you could definitely take that same content that you've done on YouTube and repurpose it and put it on, like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Reels. Like those are great places to repurpose your content and then obviously focus on your long form with YouTube. So there is a great way to let's see. Eli says, "Oh, I sorry, Eli, I skipped your thing." It says, "Started with a company in the Philippines. They have done a few videos. Communication is not that easy." How are you communicating with them? That's the other thing is depending on with WhatsApp now you can really do that. So it's a little bit easier. And then he says, but they are better than me. I have been doing it for 10 years, but not good at the graphics. Yeah. Well, you understand the process, so you're able to do it. We got Eddie Smallhorn, probably Eddie's probably watching the live stream, and Christina's like, is she flying? Did you go to or no? Are you? She left you in the dust. So he agrees. Whatever I say, he concurs. It's not agree, it's concur. So, but one of the things that you can do if you're doing live streams, if you haven't heard of Opus Clips or Opus Pro, like that's a great tool to repurpose your live streams to these other social media platforms. And I know we're talking about YouTube and everything, but again, this is more like repurposing the content where you can put more information out on these other platforms, and it doesn't take hardly any time at all. So definitely worth looking into it if you haven't seen it. Eddie's working from home. Nice. Well, I think Christina is in Salt Lake right now doing some stuff for YouTube in a tiny cabins, or I don't know, something like that. All right. What other questions do you guys have with editing or editors or any of that kind of stuff? So I will go into probably the next thing is that if you get a good editor, like do whatever you possibly can to make their job easier because they'll stick with you longer. So if you're building a relationship with an editor, it's so much easier once you guys both have an understanding of how you like it done and how they like the files. If you'll work together on that, that will make it to where your relationship is a lot easier. So one of the things that I recommend is when you sit down, ask them how their process is. What is your process? How do I need to get the files to you? And what size of files do you need? And if you don't know those things, talk to them and have them give you what's going to be easy for them to insert you into their workflow. Because if you like, just like working with a pain in the butt buyer or seller, there's only so much you can take of that, and then you're like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not working with that person. So when you find someone good, you want to hang on to that, and you want to make sure that those relationships are built. But it's again, it's more about understanding how to structure your YouTube videos. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because I think a lot of people think, well, I'm going to do, this video and I'm going to go do it. And then what happens is the video's meh. It's okay, not great, not terrible, just kind of meh. But if you want a video to really pop off, you have to spend the time doing the research and understanding how to actually hook the viewer in and how to re-engage with them and how to keep their attention by offering information that they're interested in. So it's really, really important that you do that. Joe says, I usually pre-edit my videos. I cut out all the dead space where I'm thinking about how to deliver the next portion and then trim that out. That's great. That's a really great way to do it. There's also another tool that you can use that that will actually trim out all of that dead space for you automatically. There's two of them depending on like what you're editing with. If you're editing with Adobe Premiere, there's a add-on called Autopod, and what Autopod does is it will automatically go through and cut out all the dead space for you. So if you're editing it yourself, it saves you so much time because it gets rid of all of your dead space. And then if you it's going glitchy. Yeah, sorry guys. There's probably somebody I don't know. The internet's pretty bad. I'm on Wi-Fi here, so sorry about that. But Autopod is one of them. So I would say look at that one. Let's see if I can pull it up here so you can see it. And this one's pretty cool for a lot of different reasons, but it will actually cut up all of the audio and dead space for you. And then the other one is I can never remember. It's like Thunder. Geez, I can never remember what it is. Time Bolt. That's what it is. So if you've never heard of Time Bolt, if you are editing the videos yourself, then I would recommend looking at, let me share my screen so you guys can see this. So this right here is Time Bolt. And basically what it does is it will go through and actually trim your content out. It has a plugin for Final Cut Pro and for Adobe Premiere. But basically you can cut out all of these are all the different, so we even have like Camtasia. So it cuts out all of the dead space. And if you've ever edited, when you're editing, it really does take forever to do these jump cuts or cut in between, especially if you're doing like a 12 to 15 minute to 20-minute video. It takes forever to just trim it up. So there's ways of automating that to make it faster than just doing it by hand. So there are some really cool things that way. All right, let's see here, Eddie. Oh yeah, so you guys are having a conversation amongst yourselves. Great. So now the other one that I want to show you is I'm going to show you Opus Clips. And if you're not familiar with this one is great. So what this does is this will take like your long form content, okay? And any live stream would be perfect for this, or if you're doing a podcast or something like that. And it will actually, with AI, with basically just a click, it will trim up all of your content to make one basically I'll give you like 10 different versions that you can use. The other thing that's really cool about it is if you're doing Zoom calls, or if you're doing, they just added this feature, but if you're doing Zoom calls or anything with video, you can actually just upload that and it will clip that out as well. So it's really, really handy if you're trying to repurpose your long form content. So again, just a really quick way of taking something and the information that you've already done and and just repurposing it to other social media sites, super easy. Now, the other thing that is, I would say, really important. I started getting into it, and then you guys distracted me with your comments. So thank you. But one of the things is understanding how the anatomy of a video, like bringing them in and having a hook, and then having re-engagement. And every viewer is a little bit different, but we notice that there are some patterns and trends, especially if you're doing a talking head video, which is you educating someone. And that would be that as you're talking, bringing up news articles or bringing up graphs and talking to your editor about not just having that like article on the page, but actually having it highlight or a highlight effect with a marker or something like that, or draw their attention to that. Those types of little bits of editing bring a huge amount of retention, because people will go back and watch that, or they'll pause it and they're going to get information. So as you're talking about the housing market, or if you're talking about relocation or about whatever parts, and you're showing 70% of people are moving here because of, and you have an article showing up and it starts to highlight, that creates engaging content, so that it's not just you talking on the screen, but it has everything that you're talking about, and it's reinforced by this news article. And it's so easy to find those things. So definitely look into, when you're creating your content, to try to add more graphics, because we've noticed B-roll is another one that's really important, but adding your own graphics to that, so that you can emphasize what you're talking about. All right, let me see. We had a few comments going on here, but I don't know if you guys are just, all right, let's see. Yes, you can save the editor some boring legwork. But one of the things, oh, that is one thing. When you're like, what I would do is, if you're talking to your editor, part of probably one of the hardest things when you're editing is finding your B-roll and finding the content. So talk to your editor and make sure that they have a license with Storyblocks or Avado, or like Artlist, uh, some type of B-roll where it's licensed, so you're not getting flagged. But let them find that stuff. Just describe like what you want, and then let them find it. And the other thing is, there's lots of AI stuff coming out now with Midjourney, with there's so many different Luma Labs, like Adobe Firefly. They just announced that they're going to be doing generative AI, so it's text to video, and it'll be a plugin in Adobe Premiere. So telling them what you want, and then AI making the little B-roll clip for you. So that stuff is, and if you guys haven't seen that, that's incredible. Artlist actually, I think, has one that they're working on too. And then there's Runway LM. If you haven't seen that, there's ways to get your that's ways to get your B-roll, but you'll spend a ton of time trying to find your B-roll clips to then give to your editor. Don't do that. Just tell them what you want and let them pick it, because that will save you a huge amount of time when editing, or when you're putting your video together to give to the editor. Just tell them to find something, be very clear about what you want, but that's way faster than scrolling through all of these stock video websites trying to find the right B-roll for you. So we got a question here. It says, anybody shoot in the field and not in a studio? Yeah, that's honestly, that's a great way. Shooting outside, or I would say shoot outside and in a studio, or have a couple locations, but outside that will give you a lot of engagement. That's a great way to shoot video, and then adding B-roll to that will keep them engaged. But that's a really good way to keep people engaged. You have some people that will, be outside on their porch, or, like in a really nice background. Like if you're in Hawaii, you better not be shooting indoors. It should be like outside, like showing the beauty of like where you're at. So definitely important for that. look here, let's see. Graphics are huge. Yes, they are. That's like making a good video comes down to having good graphics and emphasizing your points that you're making. Christina always says you don't want to be the source, you want to be the source of the source. So when you find this information, you find the news articles, the things that are going on, you're talking according to these people and then letting your, your editor know. But these are like little tips to where it's not you saying that, it's it's Redfin or Zillow or CNN or Fox or whatever. Like wherever you're getting your information, you're the source of that source, and then you're just having your editor um, use editing tips to highlight what you're talking about at the time that you're talking about it. One thing that we have noticed a lot too is that editors tend to get a little crazy and want to do a lot of transitions and a lot of, different types of pan zooms and all these different things. What we're finding with engagement is having the B-roll come in and it just be a clean cut, not having all these weird like transitions, but just a clean cut. And then it cuts back to you, or maybe you move over to one side and the graphics there as you're talking, or maybe it's the graphic and it's just kind of slowly zooming in as you're talking about it. But make sure that your transitions and that your graphics are dialed back. So you want that to be more like, because like we said, more and more people are watching YouTube on TV, so you want it to be edited more like a TV style. And especially if your videos are longer, you're going to get complaints in your comments that are saying, you're making me sick with all of these zooms in and all these things that you're doing. I just want the information. The other thing, if you are doing an educational channel and you're talking to your people, do not have background music going on while you're talking. And if the editor's like, no, it adds, like, don't do it. You can use background music for like to emphasize something or to emphasize a point you're making, but don't have it going on, because that will be one of the very first things that people will yell at you for, is like, I can't hear a dang thing you're saying because you got this music going on in the background. And just for the I'm here just for the information. Turn your music off. It's people definitely they have their opinions on what they want to say. Yes, those showy transitions can be used for the intros. So, explain a little bit more about what you mean by that. Like, what is the showy transitions? Could be. Are you saying like an intro for like your real estate company or something, or is it more of like an intro, or like for like the hook? Like if you're talking about the news article and then it flashes on. If I think that's what you're talking about, and that would be definitely bring in bring them in right at the beginning so they don't drop off. So yes, Eddie says he agrees with taking the music out of the videos. Yes. The other thing too, and your editor should know this, but for YouTube, if you're taking sound bites from news channels and those things, make sure there's no music on in the background, because that will flag that video. It says Zooms and whatnot intro for like a home tour. Okay, yep, got it. Yep, makes sense. So yes, that is a huge thing to that is a huge thing to have. Um, I'm reading a comment here, and I want to talk about that in a second. So when you again, remember, you're making the content for the viewer. You're doing educational, and the educational can be slower paced. You can leave graphics on a little bit longer so that they have time to read what you're talking about. You don't want it on too long, but you don't want it on to where it's like they're like, what the heck? Like, I didn't even get a chance to read it, and you're making a point about that. The other thing is you you definitely want to make sure that you limit. Uh, Eddie says, this, I agree with this 100%. For long form and for YouTube, too many showy transitions can be distracting. And that is so true. You don't want the editing to distract from your message. What your goal is with editing is to enhance your message. You want your message enhanced because you're able to have your message clear, and then these little subtle things that make it that much more. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, but just a little subtle thing can be huge on that. So let's see what we got here. CNBC uses light music under their video. I kind of like it. Well, Eli, test it with your audience. We're all about analyzing and adjusting. And if you have people that are like, "Oh, I really like that," go for it. But if not, I'm just telling you from experience, most people are like, "Turn off the music. It's annoying me." So, I think that like moderation is a good thing. I think that having music is important in your videos when you're making a point. So, if you do have a news clip and they are talking, you could add a little dramatic music into the background of that to help. Like I said, it's to help enhance what you're trying to say. So you could have a little bit while that's going, but that clip is only going to be 5, 6, 7 seconds, maybe 10 seconds max. So you're not going to have, like, I personally would not recommend that you have music going on in the background the whole time. So, um, yes, if you think it helps with your story, go ahead and give it a shot. I mean, if you're again, it's more Eli, why don't you jump on this live stream? I sent you a link. Hop on here. Let's chat for a minute because you have some very good opinions on things. It should be in the Discord. Go ahead and jump on there. And anybody else on the Discord that wants to jump in, come on. This is a friendly, fun show. We're gonna talk all things editing. Let's see here. I need to remove that here. Eli, you gonna hop on? You're chatting with your fingers. Let's hear what you have to say. I don't know if he's gonna hop on or not, but you should. Okay, so maybe you need another incentive or another like invite here. No, it's right there. It's on the general chat. So all right. What other questions do you guys have regarding video editing or your YouTube videos in edits? Are you finding what are you seeing? What things do you think will help enhance and make your videos more keep your attention? I think that there's one thing that you can do that I think would be very good to do is if you can insert if it fits with your avatar. Now, this is a huge thing if it fits with your avatar, inserting pop culture into your videos in snippets, not too much, but enough that your avatar is like, oh, they get me. They know exactly like what I'm thinking, or they totally get me because they did this meme or they did this clip of this movie that is so specific that it's only like only we get that. So having those types of things put into your video will be huge in creating a community to where people are like, "Oh my gosh." Like I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like with Christina, she always has like a mug and she's always like but the mug is like a 5-gallon bucket for her that she's like drinking out of. Like she's got like and people comment because she's talking about this or she's got her mug or whatever. Like people want to interact. So give them an opportunity with your videos, either having things in the background or things that they can chat about that helps bring that community together. And part of that is understanding, like I said, who your audience is. If you're it's 4 Eddie says it's not a 5-gallon, it's 4.5 gallons. Yeah, that thing is like That's a big mug. So anyway, those little things create, I mean, we're talking about it right now. Like that's one thing that like she does consistently. So it's like, oh, it brings up talking points. It helps you bring your community together. And a lot of people, especially, this is super important to understand that a lot of people that end up wanting to use you or get a referral from you or put their information in to become a lead, they are lurkers first. They don't necessarily say much. They're just on, they're watching, they're seeing what value you're providing, what information you're giving, and then slowly they hop on and they may make a comment or they may say something, but they've been watching you for a while. And so having that understanding and knowing that as you're creating your content, be intentional with it. People will say, oh, I've been watching you for 6 months and you finally talked about this thing that just really struck a chord and I had to reach out. And then when you reach out, they're totally blown away that you reached out because they're like, oh, they're too busy doing YouTube or this or that, or how do they have time to talk to me? And it creates a really solid lead, which then you can hand off throughout the country. It doesn't have to just be like in your local area. This is a great question. Is there a good time to hire an in-house editor? That's such a good question. The answer is yes, but it depends. It depends on what your goals are, and it depends on what your bandwidth is. If you're hiring someone and like a contractor, let's say like you're contracting an editor and you're not getting what you want and you're paying that information, you're paying them every time and they're not doing it, you may consider bringing someone in because your editing process in the beginning will probably take longer. Having those, hey, you're here. Things put into your. You gotta turn your volume down a little.
I'm on delay. Hold on one second.
So one of the things is you're going to want to look at it and say, okay, if you're wanting to scale, having someone in-house to do that is going to make your life a lot easier in some ways, and then in other ways it's going to take more time, because initially, especially sitting down with someone, is I would say if you can work it out to where you're not in the same room, that would be ideal. But ultimately it really comes down to like your goals. If you want to grow your YouTube channel and you want information to go out, like you can even, if you're not doing it yourself, I prefer personally to have someone that I could sit down and say, I want it like this, and then give them the information and then it's done, rather than do it over WhatsApp or Zoom or, any of those things. So personally, my personal feeling is if you can fit it in your business plan, an in-house editor is the best way to go. But you'll still probably go through a couple to find someone that's really good. So I would say the time to do it is when you're just, the pain point is so great that you're like, I don't even care anymore. Like I need to have it. That's when it's time to get an editor, is when you're like, you're committed to making content, but now you're held back because you can't find someone that takes care of it. What do you think about that, Eli?
Eli doesn't know what to think about that. So Eli just got an editor, and like I tried to say in the chat, but I don't really type very well. Not easy. Getting back to the music, I've been doing it for a long time, and I've always had music, and I've actually had clients, and it's been low and it's been kind of like jazzy. And I had clients say that they've called me because of the music.
Oh, actually, really?
I used to have at the beginning of my my videos, I would have the theme from Monday Night Football. Back in the day, da 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 da,
Yep.
that kind of thing. And people said, yeah, I was just drawn in by that. And this is before I knew anything about hooks or anything. I was just doing videos.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I personally like the music, but I've actually never done a video, I don't think, without music. But I will try, obviously, to do it without music and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we're talking about here is there's you every viewer is different and every avatar is different. And the key is that if your avatar loves music but you hate it, who cares what you like? It's what the avatar wants. It's what your viewer wants. But I would say the best thing to do is test it and look at your analytics. And if they're analytics and look at like comments. And if there is any comments saying they don't like it, then I would look at adjusting that. And if you have comments that are saying that they love it, here's the other thing. This is another great thing that you could do if you want is in your community tab, have a poll. How many people like music in the background as opposed to not, and see what your community says. That creates that engagement to where they're in there now. You can see what they say and go from there. But ultimately, in my experience, a lot of people, um, when they're there for educational purposes, get super annoyed if there's music going. But again, it depends on the avatar. It depends. I
Yes,
mean, you have an older demographic that probably absolutely loves getting the information from you with would you say jazz? A little jazz in the
yeah,
background.
a little bit of jazz, a little bit, something that pops. But in all the years that I've been doing it, I've only had one comment that the music was too loud, and I agreed with them that it was too loud. I really try and put it like really under the radar. It just kind of like very, very basically, you can barely audible. If you go on a CNBC video, like I put in the chat, they're getting millions of views in a week on stuff, and it's CNBC, obviously,
Yeah.
but they all have music. They all have a very light music in the underneath. So yeah, I'm gonna work it out with the editor. It's when they're in the Philippines, it's not easy, and I just started with them, so I think it's going to be a learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
But I've gotten a couple of drafts back, and they certainly are far more talented than I can. I mean, I couldn't even do Final Cut Pro. I had to stay with like the basic Apple, and then I moved over to CapCut because I thought it was really fancy. But
Yeah.
the other stuff I just couldn't catch. So
Well,
I'm gonna.
it'll be very I'm very interested to see kind of how it goes. And I do think that there comes a point that as as you grow your businesses, that do you want to be editing videos? If you love it, great. But if not, hiring an hiring an editor will make your life so much easier. But Eli, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's easier for you to communicate with your editor because you have edited, even though you haven't used all the pro tools or whatever, let's say, but like the fact that you have understood now how to make a video, the anatomy of a video, do you feel like you're better equipped to give them good information so they make the video like how you would want it made easier? Do you think that makes it easier?
Yeah, 100%. And the guy who's doing mine, obviously I've never met him, but the hook that I used for the first couple of ones, he really kind of emphasized it. He made me pop out and
Mhm.
pop back in and put some text in there. So it's far more, like I said, that I could do, and I think he gets it. And he's put some animation in there, so it'll be interesting for me to try out because I don't do a ton of talking head videos. Most of my videos have been like neighborhoods, areas, things like that. So I'm trying obviously to branch out to the rest of the world as opposed to just to my local environment.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have to do more talking head stuff versus just kind of talking off the top of my head. So there's scripting and all the rest. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think the editor is definitely helpful, and knowing where to emphasize is important as well.
Yeah,
the
for
hook.
sure. This
Yep.
is a great comment, and I couldn't agree more with it. It says, hire an editor ASAP so you can focus on growing your business, but knowing the process is important. That's that's so important because when you're explaining to an editor, if you've never edited a video, it's really hard to tell them what you want them to do. And you don't have to be this great editor. You just need to understand the process enough so that, and maybe some of the lingo, so that when you're talking to them, you can get the point across and you're not having to go back and forth 100 times because you're not understanding each other. But this is such a good point that, if you're serious, and obviously the whole idea of making these YouTube videos and this content is to generate leads so that you can do more business. The byproduct is, yeah, you'll get more views, you get affiliate links, you get some AdSense, but really the goal with putting all of this effort is we're prospecting, and this prospecting can be done good or it can be done really poorly, and a lot of it depends on how you edit your videos.
No, I completely concur, as you would say.
I love it. That was perfect. We got it. Let's see, Joe. Do you know how channels that do tours perform once they bring Talking Head? So what we've seen is if you're doing a home tour and then you start doing Talking Heads, it's better to just do Talking Head and start a new channel. So don't have a home tour and a Talking Head on the same channel, because they don't do well. It's there really is two different audiences for that. And so you'd be better off keeping the home tour channel and adding a Talking Head or educational channel. And home tours are, I mean, really, you don't even need to really edit those. You could get a little steady cam and your phone or your assistant, have them walk through the house or whatever, and upload that. And that's going to do great on a home tour channel if you have a really good thumbnail and title. The Talking Head one is more educational based. You can pivot and just add that, but you can't do both, because then it confuses the algorithm as far as like who to present your content to. So if you're like, I really love my channel and I did home tours forever, but now I want to do educational, you can pivot, but it would be something that will take a little bit of time, and you'd have to do it pretty strategically, but it'd probably take you 6 months. Where if you started a whole new channel, you could probably get the same exposure in, if you had a good strategy, in a month. So
Just to answer the question that's being asked of me. So I don't normally do home tours per se. I have done them, but I don't do a lot of them. More of my stuff is neighborhood tours. So I'm going around neighborhoods. I'm talking about my local area and the different neighborhoods, and I focus on a certain clientele. I have not done any lives as of yet, but I'm getting my act together. But I will be doing lives
so
because
one of the things
I'm
that he
so
does.
dynamic and exciting on lives that I might as well do them.
Yeah, one of the things that with you, so this is kind of like a hybrid, but like if you have the right B-roll, and this is what Eli's doing, is if you have the right B-roll and you're having education, he's using his own area for a lot of that B-roll to then educate his avatar, his
Correct.
his cloud, his audience. But it's not a home tour channel. It's really him talking about the community, and then it's just being enforced with the editing of, these are the communities, this is the information. And then on a larger scale, he's opening it up to like relocation. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, this is great. I'm really glad you hopped on. I
I
didn't
tried to
know if
get on
you.
earlier. I have some reason I couldn't get on in the beginning. but
Oh,
maybe
I
you didn't
saw
see
that
me.
you tried, but it didn't let me add you. But one of the so Eli, let me ask you this. So as at because you've been a student and you've gone to Vid Summit and you've seen all of this stuff, like they hear from Christina and myself all the time. But why don't you give like your take? Like, what are you most excited about after? I mean, because this last month you've really done some different things where you went to Vid Summit, you've kind of reevaluated some things. Tell me kind of what you're most excited about.
So, based on the way that you guys have kind of taught me, I have been able to hone in on certain patterns and things like that. I put out some videos on my own channel, uh, not changing anything, and I've gotten 30 or 40,000 views on some of the same type of videos that I've been doing, just changing thumbnails. And what that has done is that one video is kind of like running my channel at this point. I'm getting, the majority of the views from that, or a lot of them, and it has helped to stir up a lot of my older content, which is good. Going to Vid Summit was a game changer for me, because I see all these people just blowing it out of the water, and they're no better than you and you guys out there. But these guys are just rocking it, and I see some people in the class that are, skyrocketing. Um, so it gives you a burst of energy, and it makes you very excited to want to get in there and just get your hands dirty. I've been doing it, like I said, for a long time, but this is a whole new thing. Um,
Yeah.
Vid Summit was a little bit intimidating because you see these little kids making, $20 million a year, and they're throwing me sweatshirts. But um, yeah, I mean, I actually met somebody who gave one of the talks there, and I've known her from online for about 7 years. We had taken like an SEO course, which Joe and Christina's course is nothing like that. But I've known her. We used to watch each other's videos. She was in the beauty area, and obviously I was in the real estate. But when she was at Vid Summit, I kind of went up to her. I was like, "Do you know who I am?" And she said, "You look familiar." I said, "Do you remember way back when?" So it's exciting because she has blown up, and she's got a line of beauty things that she's selling, and she's got a 500,000 subs, and she was sucking wind with me 7 years ago. So she's moved on, and I'm ready to move on as well. But yeah, Vid Summit was awesome. Christina and Joe, they give, I mean, it's a commercial. Okay, I'm not getting paid,
I
kids.
wasn't asking for a commercial, but I'll take it.
Yeah, but I mean, these guys are so giving. You take a course, right, and you're done, and it's over with. These guys, they just bend over backwards. Joe throws out all these websites, everything he learns about AI. Christina is so helpful with all of the YouTube stuff. They're just awesome. And the whole bunch of people on there are great as well. People
Yeah.
are working together. We're all one big semi-happy family.
Yeah. It we I think that our community is amazing, and it's because of all of the people that are there, and they're willing to share their knowledge and to give. And it really it's really one of those things that's so cool because a lot of people, if they find something that's working for them, they're like they don't want to tell anybody. And the first thing that we do is we tell everybody, "Hey, this is amazing. You should do this. It'll make your life so much easier. You can do." And because we believe that there isn't competition but collaboration, and it brings everybody up when we're all there. So if you did want the replays, I put the link in there for Vid Summit. Uh, that the replays, that will be the best money spent if you're really going all in on YouTube to generate your real estate leads. There are uh, so many talks in there that are gold with these keynote speakers that show you their process and how they did it and what made them successful. But most of all of them, I would say all of them, it's not like this straight thing that they just take off and they just have like it's a rocky road, and they have highs and lows, and they have days that they want to quit and days that are amazing. But when you really understand how much farther your reach can be with YouTube and how much more business you can do, then that's when it gets really exciting, because then you're motivated, because you're not necessarily just making a YouTube video, but you're actually prospecting, and you're prospecting to thousands of people that you could never do any other way. So it really is one of those things that, like, that I've seen, and like Eli, we've talked about, is the potential is limitless. You just have to adjust your mind and think a little bigger. Because most people are like, oh, YouTube, I don't want to make videos. Like, I want to do real estate. And what they're saying is, when YouTube is the number one streaming service in the world, we should be where the masses are. That's where we need to be, is YouTube, because that's where the people are. And when you offer, this is probably the easiest platform as far as getting started. Now, it's easy and hard, but the easiest platform of getting started and getting out there. But it also has so much possibility that you can't even imagine. When you go to VidSummit, it's next level. You go to VidSummit and you're like, oh, this is
Yeah, you
this
really have no idea until you
this is
see
way
what's out
more
there. Yeah, I
than
mean,
making videos.
it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like I'm here in this little bubble, and you go out there, and it's like, man, these guys are just blowing it up, and it's exciting. I mean, the potential is there. You have to go out there and do it, and
Yep.
that's the hard part, is doing it.
It really is. So, but one of the things that makes it easy is a good community. And that's one of the things that we absolutely love, is everybody that jumps on these live streams and that talks with us, that we communicate with. Like, we absolutely love all of that. And we really do want people to have success. Let's see here. It says YouTube helped us have our biggest year when the Feds hiked rates. YouTube is uh, going those nuggets who are willing to move even though the higher rates. I, yes, I agree. Like, the thing is, people are in any time people are buying and selling, it's not it's not like it was, but the fact that you can reach so many more, because in real estate we all know that it's a numbers game, and the more views you get, the more potential you have to create clients. So you guys have all been great. We love chatting on the live streams. Hopefully Christina is having a blast in Salt Lake, and we are very grateful for everybody that joins in and talks. Eli, thank you so much
Hey,
for
my
hopping
pleasure.
on
Thank
this.
you for everything.
Yeah,
You're
literally just
you're the best.
saving my bacon. I'm in here just talking for an hour by myself. I talk to myself all the time. That's one thing, but when I have to talk to myself on a
I take
yeah,
medication for that.
it makes it exactly. It makes it a little bit easier. So thank you so much for being willing to hop on, and thanks everybody for the comments. If you are interested in learning more, you definitely can go to Real Estate Video Geeks, and you can learn more about how you can leverage YouTube to make even more money in your real estate business. So thanks again for watching, and hopefully you guys have an awesome day.